If you are a parent and you miss this, your child might struggle their entire life trying to catch up financially. Why? Because most people do not think or consider what I'm about to show you until it is too late. I have got three children by the grace of God: 10, 8, and 2. Yes, I said 2. The one thing I am conscious of is to ensure none of them feels left behind. This isn't about comparison. It's about giving each of them a foundation. I'm talking about a baseline for them to stand on and rise. Now, why am I passionate about this? And when I say I, is because I am two anyway. There is a man and a woman, and I am the woman. But considering the man is not here, I am representing both the man and the woman. So the one thing we are conscious of and we acknowledge is the fact that our parents did extremely well with us. They didn't give us what I'm about to give or pass on to these little ones, but knowledge is power. Probably during their time, they didn't have the kind of tools that we have today in wealth building. They had others which I believe they did the best that they could. And even if they didn't, I thank God for their life, because hey, no one is blaming anyone here, because the honors now is on me. And I do not have the right to even talk about what a parent did or what a parent did not do. But the one thing I control is a narrative with what God has given me. I am responsible, a carer, and a guardian to these little ones. And so my role is to ensure that that baseline is clear, it is defined, and they can stand on and rise. So that is why I am doing this. Now, without much ado, let me show you something. This is my 2-year-old's account. Like I stated, every month we invest £100, which goes into this account. Nothing complicated, just consistency. Like I stated, the current portfolio is worth, you can check the date that I'm recording this on the 19th of April. It is a Sunday. And the current portfolio is worth £3,413. This, see, let me just ensure that her details are not yeah, live here. Yeah. Okay. So every investor should set up a direct debit into their investment account. I advise this. And so you can see here the next payment coming into this account is on the 30th of April 2026. So at the end of every month, £100 goes in here. And see, this is non-negotiable. We don't negotiate on this. Each child has this ongoing. I don't care what it takes. Whether we gonna be having stones for the rest of the month. I don't care. This must go. This must go. All right, let's go back. All right, so you can see this is the actual investment. So let's see what I have contributed and what it is looking like. So it is in two funds. Each child has a separate fund. Once again, that's why I keep saying this is not a financial advice to you. You want one, send an email to yardfinance25@gmail.com. The reason is because I know how old a particular child is. I know how long they have till they are 18, and dependent on the risk I want to take with what the person is doing. Sometimes I do a little bit of a movement. For my 10-year-old, I have sold out of a few portfolios and realigned him back to a separate portfolio. But then there are some of the portfolios that he stayed in for 5 years. There were others that he stayed in for 6 years. And so you can imagine what I'm talking about. And at some point, I readjusted the portfolio. Of course, I can't move the money out until the child is 18. But I readjusted the portfolio and I reassessed the funds that were in the ETF, and I asked myself, is that doing well? Is that not doing? You see, I assess all of that, and then if I want to keep you in for a couple of years, yes, I do. Otherwise, you move. I'm gonna do the same review for this child account, my 2-year-old account, when account is 5 years. So you see, for long term, that is the focus. We just pray for life and strength to be able to do this. You know, that's why I keep saying that you need to speak to an advisor, someone who can support you, someone who can guide you through this process. Once again, this is Vanguard. All right. So we have the ESG Global All Cup UC ITF ETF accumulating. You also have the FTSE Global All Cup Index Fund accumulation. And for this chart, I believe this is okay for now, and hopefully, God willing, when this child is 5, we'll review this portfolio, and if we need to sell out of this one and move to a new direction, dependent on what the aim is, we will do. That's all right. I don't want to prolong this video, so let's move on. Okay, so the personal rate of return is currently 75.8. Let's see the performance. Okay, so at the moment it's telling me that you contributed and withdrew. So what we have contributed is 2,520. So you see, as a child is sleeping now, watch this. This your investment return you 893. So you see, when the child breathes, the child makes money. The child money drop a little bit, makes money, make money. So you can see the line on an upper scale all the way to the top. All right, that is what consistency does. You dollar cost average. It doesn't matter what is happening on the market. I don't care what is happening. The aim is to just invest. Forget about it. Because there is a goal, there's an end goal. And when that end goal comes and we have to sell out, there's no guilt to just sell out. Because I keep saying to everyone, you need to define your why. And your why must make sense with the kind of structures you are mounting. So please ensure that your why is clearly defined. So that is a 2-year-old account, £100 each month. Once again, this is only for education and for the child's education, a foundation, the first foundation we've laid. Hopefully, this account rises between 60,000 to 80,000. Now we've managed our expectation. So 60,000 is what we expect this to yield in 18 years when the child is 18. But then, considering how we've done with the 10-year-old, we know this account can easily hit £80,000 by the time this child is 18 or even above. Yeah. Holding all things constant anyway. All right. So what I've done, because I've set the automation, I don't come back to check whatever is happening here. That is why there's no cash here. Usually when the transfer comes in here, it resides here. And then after a while, Vanguard moves it into the funds, the 2 funds that we have selected. We have apportioned the percentages anyway. So it's nothing for us to actually worry about. So you can see the last transaction. This is what took place. And then once again, if you want to do an ISA transfer, I've been preaching about this. You can't take the money out, especially if it's a junior ISA. And so the best is to request an ISA transfer, and your providers will do that on your behalf. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, so this is what a 2-year-old accounts look like. I've shown that to you, so you know that one is not just talking, one is not just preaching. This is possible. It is feasible. If 2-year-old £100 is giving the child this, can you imagine when this child turns 18, and then we can talk about real numbers? But when she's 5 years old, we'll review this account. And if we need to do something else with it, we'll do something else with it. All right, welcome back from the dashboard. So let me emphasize this again. The goal for this particular account is not to make them a millionaire. This is only for education purposes. The reason why we have this particular account is because we want to ensure that by the time they are 18, they have between 60,000 and 80,000 pounds that could support the rest of their education. I'm talking about first degree, masters, whichever level they want to get to. That is the baseline for this particular fund. Now, making them a millionaire is something else. It's a different strategy that we have. Now, we do not want to miss out when it comes to these twos. I'm talking about Vanguard. Vanguard is a commission free for children. I'm talking about the junior stocks and shares ISA. You can have as much as you want, different stocks and shares ISA here and there. But for this purpose, we chose Vanguard. 1, commission free. 2, we are content to put in £100 for each child in this particular account. And once again, for education. It is just to ensure that their foundation is clear. I do not want them to complete their education and they have to think about paying student loans here and there. So this is the baseline for this child. Now, making them a millionaire, once again, like I said, is a different structure we have planned for these ones. We don't control that narrative in future. They do, because eventually it's up to them to have continuity with it to get to where we have planned and purport for them to get to. At the end of the day, they have the continuity with that structure we have projected. But for the purpose of this, £100 each month, and the aim is by the time they are 18-year-old, their education should, and tuition specifically, should be fully cleared, which will put them ahead. Now, what I've given you is just the baseline, like I said, the foundation. Now, let's flip this where a different layer actually exists. And at this level, I am not showing you the account. Once again, I don't like it when I'm showing lots of funds here and there, because that is not what this is all about. This is, I mean, just take it. That is not what this is all about. And so we're going to be using the calculator just so I can illustrate to you how investing a little bit more than £100 could change the life of these kids. And with them having continuity after 18-year-old, how it can change their narrative. And by the time they are 30, they could be millionaires and say, look, I chose to retire, or I choose to pursue something that I really love to pursue. That is the whole aim for this. Grinding, yes, they keep grinding, but then what they actually love. And to be able to do this, the foundation must be solid. Now, the baseline is laid. Let's flip it to where we talk about real figures that can actually turn them into real millionaires when they are 18, and a little bit continuity after 18. And at that point, they can say, all right, this is me. I want to retire. That's it. Let's flip it. All right, welcome once again to the dashboard, and let's watch what happens when you increase the seed. But then before I even move into increasing the seed, you may be wondering, when I said £100 for 18 years, this child is going to make between 60 to 80,000. That was me being charitable. Now let's see how the numbers look like. So this is £100 and the interest. So you can see the rate of return for that young child was over 70-something%. All right, but forget about that. I mean, let that backslide. Forget it ever existed. There's been some fund that has performed well over the years. And then for the S&P 500, it is estimated that for education-wise, you stick to between 9 to 11% because of the many occurrences, i.e. what is happening now. But then there are other funds that has back-to-back on an average yielded a minimum of 16%. And so let me once again be charitable and let me go for 14%. All right, so 14, because what I do is I assess the funds, and if a fund is not doing well based on my expectation, I move to a different fund. And so yeah, you should know what you are doing. Yeah, we're going for 18 years and £100 each month. Say we want to be a little bit charitable, so annually we may increase it by 2%, dependent on how we feel. Let's calculate that. All right, so you see here 108,000 for this child education I'm talking about, but we are estimating 60 to £100,000. And so once again, this is me being charitable. I know of another 5-year-old child account that is almost hitting this level. I mean, we once again, we all differ. The child's parents put in more money, and so that is why they are almost getting there. You understand? But one day at a time, so you do not need to worry about that. All right, so let's see how these kids can be millionaires. How you can do that, or say your entire household, how you can build a million portfolio, and see. Take that thing from your mind. Never say it's not possible. Let me start with £300. All right. And then let's say the interest rate. Let me stick to 14%. And now this is what we're going to do. So for one child, so say £300 for that child. Say you are not doing any extras. This is all you're doing is to ensure that £300 goes into that child's account. Or maybe you have 3 kids and you want £300 to go into the account. And that's what, let's see, this is how they become millionaires. And then eventually they can share that million pots if that's what you want. Okay, so each month another 300 is going in. All right, for 8 years. Now, this is what happens. They make 324,000. Bear in mind, this is only on average purpose. And now what you do here is when the child is 18, there must be a little bit of a reflection and readjustment. The child can have continuity for the next 10 years. So now let me increase this to 28. and then recalculate. You see that? That's 1.4 million. So it is so possible. There is nothing like impossibility when it comes to financial freedom. It is so possible. Now I have a friend. Let me blow you up a little bit. I have a friend. This friend of mine is online. He's also a finance content creator, and each year he deposits £9,000 in his child. I call him the FBA investor. You can check out on him. £9,000 in his child stocks and shares ISA. The child is only two, like my little child, but the child is almost hitting £50,000 anyway. So please don't get it twisted. Now let me put 18 here, and they do it yearly. All right. So let me take this and then put yearly, and then type in here £9,000. In fact, let me take that also off. So by the time the child is 18, the child is almost hitting 788. But hey, check this. The child is gonna make more than this because, and more than a million, because FBA is taking a little bit more risk than I am taking with my little one. So apart from, he doesn't really like the ETFs. He goes straight into the individual companies. Once again, once you're able to do your due diligence, then it is good. You've assessed your risk tolerance, so you know what you're doing. Go for it. And so for what my friend FBA is doing, I see the fund moving on an average 18%. Because see, some of these individual companies can really go to the roof, all right. But once again, because this is for education, let me manage expectation. And so you see, by the time the child is 18, the child has 1.3 million. But the truth is, once again, this child is going to make more because the child is 2 years and already hitting £50,000. 2 years, hitting £50,000. And so you can imagine what I'm talking about. Now, let me bring it to our level. So let me increase this to 500 and then drop this to 14. And instead of yearly, let's go monthly, because I want this teaching to go to the core. Everyone should be able to do this. And then let me put 2% here and calculate this for 18 years. So if you have two kids, you can say £500 each month for these kids. Nothing extra, just £500. And when the child is 18, they have £500,000 in their pots. All right. Now you can have that discussion with a child and say, look, I want my prayer and my aim is for you to become a millionaire. So let's add another 5 or 10 years. And then when you're a millionaire, you can decide what you want to do. So let me add another 10 years, which is not your responsibility. Now, this is a responsibility of the child to have continuity with this. So you see, 10 more years added. And now that's important because we had time. And the compound effect did its job. So we are already over £2 million. If you have two kids, £2 million, boom, it is shared. You know, what makes the difference is not one good year. It is the years you didn't stop. You can do this through their stocks and shares ISA, or as a parent through your own account. Personally, the rest of the funds that will aid them and catapult them to the next level, we do it in a particular parent account. And their own account have the baseline with the £100 each. And so each month, £300 goes straight for these kids, however they must go. See, in fact, every other thing can wait, but that it must go. And then secondly, their huge investment must also go. Once again, you can choose to use the child stocks and shares ISA or the parent. Personally, we decided that £100 for these kids, and to move them to the next level, a particular parent stocks and shares ISA is used for that purpose. And then other engines are also plugged here and there. Send that email to earfinance25@gmail.com. Everything must be tailored and specified to your need. Your story is different. My story is different. This is how we have chosen to manage this. And specifically, like I said earlier, when that quantum is growing, probably we may not want to see cash. We may want to move it into physical assets, and that is why we choose a particular parent account to do this in, and also to ensure that at the end of the day, if we are moving this into real estate, then it must be under a trust where the kids can also right on. One of the things I really appreciate is people really doing what they really want to do and not for the love of money. So if the child want to be an artist, be an artist. The child want to be a writer, be a writer. The child want to be a pilot, be an accountant, be a pastor. You should be what you really want to do, and money shouldn't define that narrative. Personally, that is my aim for my children. If you want to be a musician like I am, please be a musician. Forget about the money. Why? The foundation is solid. And so you can exercise what God really gave you. And to me, that is priceless. You want to be a millionaire? This is what I believe real millions are. Doing what you really love, and yet your foundation being solid enough to support you, give you that baseline, that cushion to rise to the next level. I say to people that if I give you the best education, I don't give you physical cash. Apart from that, the moral values and the virtues that we are impacting in you, God is only using us as mediums, and as our parents did for us, how we also impacting in our kids. That alone is enough for you to rise, because that is how we have risen to this level. And so that alone is enough for you to rise. Virtue, the God way, discipline, commitment, contentment, instilling this in that child, to me, is more than being a millionaire. Being a millionaire is only a bonus. Because if I can give you the entire world, without the right foundation, you lose it. And so the focus is the right foundation. The home grinding, that is the focus. We are not perfect. We don't know what a child can turn up into, but let's do our bit and leave the rest to God. Money, every other thing is awesome. It is great. That is how it must be. But to me, it is a bonus. The real deal in making that child a millionaire is the foundation you instill in that child. Now, for everything I have shown you, build it till they are 18. And when they're 18, the child can have continuity. And so personally, making that child a millionaire, you build till 18. We need 10 more years. Unless you have lost, you have the £9,000 each year. Then, of course, by the time the child is 18, the child is already a millionaire. I mean, beyond millions. Build it. If you do not, because we are all not the same. Build it till, and this is dependent whether you've started or you haven't started. Say your child is 10, 8, 11, 15. Start somewhere, all right? And when the child is 18, the child have continuity. Another 10 more extra year, the child is a millionaire. In fact, you aim that by the time this child is 30, my prayer is that the child is a millionaire. Then the child can choose to retire or not to retire. The child can choose to go into a franchise that they want to or not. Remember, regret doesn't build anything, consistency does. And so whether you have started or not, your consistency will move that child from one to the other. And so please do not feel bad about this. Don't start, oh, I regret I didn't do this. Wherever, so far as the child is not 18, start anyway. You understand? And do not wait until you have 9,300, 500 to invest. No, you have £50 put into that account for the child. You just need to know the right fund that you're going for. If the child has a lot of years ahead, let's take a little bit more risk. You understand? So we can go for the VOO. There are a lot of funds that gives you more returns than I've actually shown you. And so let's take a little bit more risk, especially if we have time and years with us. Now, let me bust your bubbles a little bit. Let's assume by the time the child is 18, the child is not a millionaire. Say the child has $500,000 or $250,000. Or say by the time the child is 18, the child has £50,000 in the account. Is that not better than zero? Is that not better than nothing? So you see, being a millionaire is achievable. But let me emphasize again, start from somewhere. And don't feel regretful about not starting early, about start. No, don't put yourself under that. Please, we are all different. We differ. We start from various angles here and there. And knowledge, not many people have this I'm giving you. Just start from somewhere. That is what this is all about. Start small, stay consistent, and let wisdom do what hustle couldn't do. Once again, send that email to yatfinance25@gmail.com. I can't wait to see you at the top. And hey, I'll see you in the next. Thanks for watching.